I'm Mike Fresta. I'm a beer store manager in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I've seen firsthand the impact of local craft breweries in the industry. I'm in the area checking out some of the most unique brews from some of the most coolest breweries. So come on, let's take a day off, crack one open, and see what's going on. Hey everybody, I'm at Lower Forge Brewing in Medford, New Jersey. I got the night off, so let's see what's going on. Hey everybody, I'm at Lower Forge Brewing. I'm here with the head brewer, Sean. Head brewer.
It's just brewer,
rock star,
partner in crime.
Yeah, and now that we're done gazing into each other's eyes,
I know,
and
it's
staging
well lit.
and looking at your beautiful glasses.
I know, very fancy.
Yeah. All right, so we've been reaching at these glasses for a while.
Yes.
So we are drinking.
This is Sin and Redemption. So this is a seasonal pumpkin beer, and one of the things that I like about this beer is we kind of came up with this recipe to counter some of the hate that a lot of seasonal beers get. Significant amount of pumpkin, about 30 pounds in the mash. Our average mashes are about 250 pounds. So that's a nice fraction of it.
Yeah.
A spice profile that is not overpowering and still there. And ideally, we've kind of hit that middle of the road between like somebody that wants like an overly spiced beer and somebody who wants something with nothing in it.
Yeah.
And then the fun thing for us is this particular batch, actually, this very batch, it's the first time we've used roasted caramel malts from a local malt store here in Jersey. And talk about like stepping up to the plate and hitting a home run. It was their test batch at Rabbit Hill Farms down in Cumberland County. We've always been bugging them. We wanted roasted malts from them. We use a lot of local malts. I could talk your ear off about it. I'm sure we will. But what was really cool is they had this test batch. They didn't even have the labs back on it yet. And the farm owner, the malt store down there, basically sends us a picture. We made a tea with the malt. This is the rough color you can expect. And we're like, we'll do it. So we gambled and we won. It's like going to AC and winning because I think the color came out even more beautiful than last year.
It's
and
a
now
handsome
we can say,
beer. Yeah, I like it.
But all of the malts in here are Jersey grown, and it just makes me like the beer a little more. This is already one of my favorite beers. I can't resist taking a sip now. I think
Oh, you're just gonna go for it. You're gonna beat me to it?
I never trust a skinny chef. Never trust a brewer that's not ready to like down their own beer.
Wow.
So
This
subtle.
is so drinkable. I mean, if this could be a year-round beer. This is so tasty.
When you use pumpkins right in the mash, like, they're not fermentable. But if you have some really decent, slightly sweet, basically pumpkins that were well hydrated while they're growing, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But it lends this kind of sweet, mellow flavor to it that almost will remind you a little bit of a stout because it's tickling the same part of like your taste receptors.
I mean, you said tickle. It's more like giving me a warm embrace and like cuddling me.
It's
like,
perfect.
So drinkable and chill.
I was about to say it's a perfect fall beer.
Yeah.
It's 6.7%, so we're not looking to make you too toasty. We go back and forth with having some beers that are higher, some beers that are lower. Beers like this, I feel like you have to drink when like you can see your breath when you first go out in the morning. Like it's actually going to be cold and a little chilly, and you
Crisp.
unpack. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this has been a consistent favorite of our customers. I couldn't wait to try it.
As soon as I drank this, I heard the leaves crackling under my feet.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
You're ready to go out and watch the foliage change. Like it's that type of beer. This is fall in a glass.
I was surprised when you wanted to like go right out of the gate with a pumpkin beer because I mean you're a beer drinker, right? And
Oh, absolutely.
You dabble in pumpkin beer tastings and stuff too, and some of these pumpkin beers could be like take a hard turn left in the wrong direction, whether it's like too much spices or they go crazy with the alcohol content, and it just like ends up being like too funky and all this stuff.
If you start with something that you expect to be overpowering and you have a little bit of mellow, I'm playing a trick on your senses. I mean, that's all beer plays a trick on your senses, and nobody wants to talk about it. But even when you look at stouts, anything like that, what are we doing? There are sugars and different things in there that we're playing with your palate to get you to taste what we want to taste. For what we're doing and what we do here, I love kind of being part of what people find and introduce themselves to in Medford. And if somebody comes here and leads off with one of our beers that they wouldn't expect to be their opening gambit.
Sure, yeah.
I like to think that all of a sudden we've just pleasantly surprised them into sticking around.
Well, I definitely look forward to sticking around.
There you go.
This was a hell of a first round. A pumpkin beer to boot, man. I'm really looking forward to finding out more about like how you got into brewing and like what decisions you made along the way, like that led you here. So thank you so much for this first round. It's delicious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm gonna polish this off, and we'll be back for the second round. Hey Sean, what's up, man?
Hey Mike, come on back. Here you go.
Oh, thank you, man. So I understand this is a pretty special beer to you. It kind of brings you back to like your beginnings of like when this all started, huh?
This is our Healthy Wealthy Weizen, and this was actually the very first recipe we brewed. Much refined, but what I like to tell people is part of why we brewed it that way is this was a home brewing recipe I had that I knew could ferment very quickly. When we finally got our license, we're self-funded. There's no trust fund babies here or anything like that. We were out of money. We were completely out of money. So we needed beer that we could brew that would ferment quickly. If somebody comes in and tells me that, oh, well, I only drink, big beer, or I only drink Blue Moon, they're gonna enjoy this. It's kind of the approachable craft beer.
The approachable craft beer, okay.
But I like to look at its path since we opened. So this is, April 2016, we open up. It's good, it's not an all-star. I'll freely admit that. But as we perfect it, as we switch over to local ingredients, as we do different things, as we find our groove, and now this is a beer we enter in competitions. If you ask me what our flagship is, this probably is it, alongside some of our beers that use fruits from local farms. And as we continue to do it, as we continue to perfect it, I like to think it's kind of like the story of our brewery in a nutshell.
So is this when you had that moment of sort of like, all right, this is a hobby, but I could actually picture myself doing this for...
Temporary insanity would be the better thing to do it.
Oh, okay.
But it was one of those things that I imagined, wouldn't it be cool to do something like that in Medford? And then the family kind of pulls their money, Abby, my mom, and we have some close friends. They're like, it's not as crazy as you think it is. Let's try it. We sign the lease on this building, and we go to zoning, and we find out Medford's got a prohibition law. Sorry, no production of alcohol in town. So we lobby to change that. So December 2014, we get the keys to this place. Now we can't do anything. We don't have any permits. July 2015, we finally convinced local leadership council, breweries are good. They passed what's called the first brewery ordinance. Now it's allowed. We finally get underway. We opened in April 2016. Now we're back to Healthy, Wealthy, and Weizen. This beer ends up being the basis of all the fun we had in that first summer because we just started throwing random fruit in the Randall. So Healthy Wealthy not only becomes the genesis of the brewery, it becomes the genesis of where we start winning our first awards and where we start doing different things, all because we had this easy, quick fermenting recipe that would just take off. So classic German style Hefeweizen.
And it's the kind of thing, I just took a sip 2 seconds ago, but I'm already ready for another sip. And is that sort of the idea with this beer?
That's the idea. Easy drinking. This is a beer you drink around the pool, beer you drink camping. We're very big in sustainability. Yeah. Right alongside how important local ingredients are. Like all the ingredients in here come from Jersey. This is actually a complete Jersey beer. Because the future of brewing, especially when you start looking at the environmental aspects of brewing, is how can we cut down water usage, energy usage, and how can we brew a more sustainable beer? The hop in here, it's Cascade Northern Brewer. They're very generic hops, as any home brewer will tell you, but they grow in Jersey, which is tough because a lot of hops don't grow in Jersey.
Okay.
Jersey actually used to produce a lot of hops, and then there's a blight. It's like almost like a white, like a fungusy mold that infects a lot of hop varieties that you now need hardier hops to grow in Jersey. Well, so this beer is already converted over. She's a Jersey girl.
So what have you learned from sort of when you first opened to now about creating that great atmosphere for people and because like you said, you brew great beer, but there's something about going to a brewery that kind of gives people that warm fuzzy feeling.
Our local community, if we ever lose them, if we focus on the next bright shiny thing, we're out of business.
Right. Well, thanks for this second round.
Oh,
really
absolutely.
Enjoyed it, man. I'm really looking forward to that third one, man.
Very cool. I think I'm going to have something that you'll really like.
All right. So round number 3, what is this tall glass of happiness that I'm looking at right here?
So this is Get Rich or Rye Trying. And I would love to claim credit for the name, but around here, my mom and my wife run the show. We wanted to do a rye beer. Rye is an underappreciated ingredient, and a rye IPA is an underappreciated style. Not enough people do rye IPAs, and it is the perfect fall beer. So when you taste it, just to kind of give you the background, the rye, again, is grown down at Rabbit Hill Farms. It's a common theme for us. It's earthy, it's spicy, it's not overpowering. It goes back to balance.
Okay.
Where you take this rye, and we use it with a malt they have down there called Chillum malt. And homebrewers would recognize it, kind of like a Maris Otter malt. It's biscuity. Like if you took a handful of this malt from one of the bags in the back and you chewed on it, it would remind you of like a tea biscuit, like an English biscuit. How is something that is so great on sandwiches and everything else so rare in beer, yet it's so perfect, especially it's cold outside right now. You get a little chill in the air.
Yeah.
This is that perfect way to have that kind of warm flavor without me getting you completely drunk. Like I can give you a 12% beer and you'll warm up, or you can have something with that little bit of character in it where your brain will kind of say like, ooh. So tell me what you think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you got the bread right on this. Yeah.
Now,
And if you keep your nose in the glass when you're taking the sip, the spice ends up just like giving you that extra treat when you swallow like that bready flavor. Oh,
exactly.
That's great.
And here's the thing, a rye IPA is cheating. It is. I'm gonna tell you right now, dirty secret in the beer world. Because think about it. This is not loaded with hops. I think we're roughly 1.5 pounds per barrel, our hopping rate. That's not a lot of hops when you compare it to other IPAs. But then when you have that spice coming from the grain, what's it doing? It's gonna accent those hops so perfectly that you end up having this burst of hoppiness, this burst of tanginess. Where does the malt end and the hops begin? But you're not getting that bitterness. You're not getting that kind of, oh, you kind of have double duty getting pulled by everything in your glass. It's really cool.
Like, wow, this is what I think beer, like people who don't drink beer are sort of like missing out on. This is totally different. Like, look at what you could be tasting and like different taste profiles to appreciate in beer as well, especially nowadays. So like this beer is a perfect example of like, hey, if you're not into beer, but you're looking to try.
It drives me nuts. Where like I like beer, I like wine, I like spirits. But when you have
Right.
people who only stay in one world and don't want to try anything else, it's like you are missing out.
Yeah.
But discovery, like that, and that's why like, you're saying it, and I'm just nodding
There's
my
something
head.
to discover
Exactly.
in the beer world. Like that same discovery feeling that people get when they're like sipping whiskey or like trying a
Yes.
wine at a winery. Like you could go on that discovery journey at a brewery too, and it could be a lot of fun. This is like a mother-son
Yes.
operation here at the heart of it when you put it together.
So where I might be the technical scientist style brewer,
Okay.
we like to joke that the sorcery, the more esoteric styles, it's actually how we get into having our own yeast profile, that she's the yeast whisperer, she's the fermentation wizard. She'll sit there and it's funny, telling this story, I feel like if I were watching this, I would almost be like, yeah, right. She can like lay her hands on the tank and I don't know, things respond to her. When we work together, we're so completely different. It's like yin and yang that I think actually our brewery does really well for it. And somewhere in the middle, we come up with fun recipes. And then what's nice is if we go too far off the deep end, my wife can step in and go, or you could just do this because that's what the customers want. So it really does become almost like this perfect like trifecta.
Like it's great to have similarities, but like when two people can embrace and appreciate their differences.
Yeah.
I think that's just a statement like goes beyond just two people. Like I think when just people can appreciate each other's differences and embrace them and kind of still coexist, you could actually end up creating something together that like could be so cool, and like it really does show in your beer. It's so I really admire that. I really enjoyed this third round. And speaking of the journey, I am looking forward to the last round.
I think I'm going to surprise you. It's going to be fun.
Oh, you got a wild card happening?
I do. I think I have something that our fans know us well for, but I like to bring the non-traditional styles that they might avoid, that they might not think is in their wheelhouse.
I like the sound of that. I'm really looking forward to it.
Cool.
Thanks for this
Cheers,
rye
man.
IPA. It was excellent, man. We'll be back with the fourth round. Looking forward to it. So you sort of were talking about this beer here and there during my visit today, and why don't you tell us what this is all about? Because you kind of like peppered this in there while we were in there for a little bit. And it's a pretty looking one. So what do we have?
So it's Ichabod Cran. Underneath of it is actually a pretty boring German Pilsner, German Pale Ale.
Okay.
But then what we do is we actually mix it with cranberries from Chemung, the next town over, from Whalen Farms. We mix it with their cranberries, a little bit of apple mash, which we actually added about 10 pounds of raspberries to counteract the tartness of the cranberries. We're known for our fruit beers. When you look at awards we've gotten, they've led off with our grapefruit radler, our lemon radler. We've done a watermelon pale ale. We're known for taking these ingredients from farms and playing with them in our beer. So Ichabod Cran's fun. First, the name.
The
We're
name,
back to
of course, yeah.
Cute, fun names.
Yeah.
But I feel like, just like rye might be that stronger beer in a glass, this is that Halloween, Thanksgiving spirit in a glass. But we have inspiration drawing from the cranberries itself. You know, you grow up in South Jersey.
I know
exactly.
all about, if you're in Jersey, I mean,
But you're also going to have
here.
a little hint of mulling spices and a little hint of what you might find in like a fall cider or toddy.
Right on. Cheers, man. I really
Cheers,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Wow. Wow, what I'm just getting a picture of like a dinner table filled.
Think of a spiced jello mold, spiced like cranberry mold on a Thanksgiving table.
Yes.
We wanted that kind of character without actually pushing it in front of you. So like the citrus you're in here, there's no actual citrus, it's the hops. But it does. Your brain starts thinking of tangerine, starts thinking of maybe that little bit of orange, like the orange slices in that jello mold.
Yeah.
So this is a huge hit for us. This is one of our most popular beers. We have 3 coffee roasters in town, cranberry coffee beer. We took our Irish stout and floated across the cranberries and coffee, and the alcohol in the beer acts as a very little solvent that you get flavor in every glass. It's fantastic. And we actually only do that starting right about now, the beginning of November, through spring. So we now do beer smoothies during the summer.
Beer smoothies.
Which is too much fun, even though a purist would probably be like, what are you doing?
You put those two words
Yeah.
together, it's like, how could you not smile and look forward to that? Yeah.
We do trivia every Thursday.
Great.
We like to feature local musicians. We like being that community hub. So even if you look, some of the things we have on the wall, they're from local artists from the local Medford Arts Center. So they can put their art up in here and then people can buy it through the Arts Center. If somebody wants to see what's really cool happening, not only in the brewery, but in town, they should check us out. We're just Lower Forge on Facebook, Lower Forge Brewery on Instagram, because heaven forbid the two match. And then we have a website, lowerforge.com, which is pretty easy to remember. That forwards to all of it.
Right, and like, so as far as like takeaway beer, how can we all get our hands on this deliciousness if we want to take it outside the brewery?
Well, right now we sell what are called bombers to go, 22-ounce bottles. Actually, you can order them through the website as well.
Great.
We do growler refills, growler fills. We have 32 and 64-ounce growlers in stock. And then gradually, as winter goes on, we'll have prepackaged beer available. One of the things you saw that we're installing is a canning and bottling line that we're hoping sometime after the holidays, people will be able to come in and buy 4 and 6 packs of certain beers and have that to go with them as well. We expect that probably around New Year's.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm really looking forward to that,
Cool.
man. Yeah.
Well,
Again,
thank you.
thanks
This
for
is
so much
fun.
for having me, man. This has been such a great time. What a great ender beer. I mean, you weren't kidding about your fruit beers. Thank you so much for having me. I had an awesome time. Tried some awesome, unique beers, and it's been great talking with you. And remember, you can visit lowerforge.com, or you can order crowlers, to-go beer. You can come through for trivia night, food truck night, open mic night. Every visit's going to be different, so you can always have a good time. And thanks again for having me, man.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.